In the spring of 2022, I had a friend try to kill himself by overdosing on his prescription pills. Many issues that he talked to me about were ones that resonated with me. Much of what he said made me feel empathetic towards him. When he started to overdose, I thankfully caught him and called the cops, and he was taken away to a hospital and safely recovered. But the issues surrounding men's mental health and the stigma around it has led to a culture which the issues faced by my friend seem to be a common issue faced by many. My friend was lucky he got the help he needed. However, in the U.S., the male suicide rate is 4 times higher than that of a woman, right? And nearly, I think, 30,000 people die of suicide every year. The current trend in recent years about destigmatizing mental health and help have worked in a sense, but they haven't worked enough at tearing down the very prevalent cultural gender barrier on emotional expression and seeking help for young men. It's no secret there's a gender difference between men and women towards expressing emotions in our culture via media portrayals, life examples, and almost everything. It's led to extremely dated ideas in which men have to trivialize and approach their mental health issues with the stoic it is attitude. In recent studies, men who were interviewed with depression were asked to say what they think about themselves with it. And one of them said it's difficult, but it'll be fine soon. Another of them, who was in a psychiatric ward, said, "Can I go home now? I have work to do." There's a line between positive thinking and pushing aside problems and, in general, being delusional about it. That is the issue of many young men today. I've had this approach at times where something bad will happen to me, and I'll just try to brush it off, put it to the side because, you're not supposed to deal with it, at least in the sense that you're supposed to deal with it emotionally. The trivialization of depression and suicidal ideation faced by young men today is not the only stigma that has grown surrounding it. The idea that being emotional or being vulnerable, and especially seeking help for these issues that you face, isn't masculine or unmanly, is one that affects many. From the previously mentioned study, there was a man, and he was asked to say what labels he would apply to himself based off how he felt. And he listed words like loser and lazy. And that goes into the idea that you can't, express it. Because if you do, you're going to look at yourself negatively. It's no secret that we live in an increasingly connected world, and that the evolution of modern technology has led to this very potent interconnectedness with each other, and in general, just the media. That's led to there being a lot of issues over the years, whether it be internet addiction or even just the feelings of loneliness that come from only using your phone and not going out in public. I mean, I know it sounds, very obvious. It's not like I'm stating a very new thing, but these issues, although they're not exclusively for young men, they are affecting these worsening male suicide rates and depression. Social media has been linked to higher rates of depression, loneliness, and issues with self-esteem. This compounded with the ever-increasing user basis and the time spent using the app's algorithm is leading to alarming issues. It's understood that social media isn't an accurate representation of life, or a person even. People often cherry-pick the moments or manufacture something for social media. But if you're constantly in these apps and you're constantly in these algorithms that are a feedback loop for just regurgitating to you things that you want to see, there's a warped reality that gets imposed on people. It's affecting people at my age to where instead of, guys my age seeking help, right, they'll find someone or an ideology or something on the internet that resonates with them. and they'll use this as like a pseudo teacher, like a pseudo, figure for authority. And the biggest issue is that oftentimes that person or thing or ideology that the young man resonates with isn't there to respond to him. There's also a sense of complacency that can be caused by social media, to where issues such as anxiety and loneliness are cured by using the app more. And it just locks you in if you stay in it, like a lot of people around my age. You get locked into it, man. I mean, when COVID happened, right, it was very, very hard to go outside and do stuff. It was very hard to just, in general, talk to friends because, you had to find new ways to do it. And with that, I got stuck in that feedback loop, just sitting there day in, day out, just scrolling into that algorithm. And with that, it's just doesn't do any wonders for your brain or anything, because it literally changes the structure. It's an addiction. And these apps, they prey on people. They try to get you into it so that way you keep using it. That's what happens. And that really is an issue for a lot of, especially young men today, being stuck in them, getting pushed into that feedback loop to where instead of seeking help, you're finding a temporary solution. You're finding like an interim way of dealing with your issues when you could be actually seeking help. I, as a 20-year-old college student with no platform and no means for systemic change, think that the solution to this issue would be, men, express your emotions. Sounds really trivial and very just optimistic that would be the one solution. It isn't the only part of the solution, but if you're feeling sad, tell people you're sad. If you're feeling angry, tell people you're angry. You got to learn to healthily express your emotions, and if enough men do it, myself included, we'll tear down the cultural stigma around it. That's part of making the trivialization and kind of push aside attitude towards depression and suicide, start to break away at that barrier, chip down that wall. Another thing that we have to do, regardless if you're a man or a woman, educate yourself on how to deal with suicidal people and people with suicidal ideation. I wish that 2 years ago I was very professional about it when I was trying to help my friend. I kind of just threw enough ideas at the wall and it stuck, and he's still around, very much so still alive. I love him. But if I educated myself, it would have been a lot easier back then. Another thing that we have to do, this is more of a society thing, is, like I previously said, I have no systemic power. I have no connections to systemic power, and I never really want that. But you gotta rally, you gotta tell your congressman, tell your whatever, local politician even, just tell them to impose these restrictions on social media that, stop this predatory algorithm-based, practices of just trying to get people on them constantly. A big issue is that we're so connected, but we're not talking to each other nowadays, and that's something that's got to change. And overall, if we all try to be better, try to educate ourselves, and try to help, we'll start to chip away at the negative stigma and issues faced by men with depression and then killing themselves.